So here, guys, here's a cheers to you. Okay. I love to sing and I love to drink, but most people just like to hear me drink. From George Burns. Coming up, we have Facebook data on 533 million users reemerges online for free. And another 500 million accounts have been leaked online, and LinkedIn's in the hot seat. Okay, so when I say these are short, I mean these are super short. Okay, so those are the links if you'd like to take a look at them for Facebook. It's pretty simple. The personal data of the 533 million, half a billion Facebook Inc. users, it reemerged online. This isn't the first time we've seen this data. Part of a much larger attack. And now it's for free. You can go find it and download it. And it includes things like the phone numbers, Facebook IDs, full names, location, birth date, bios, in some cases, email addresses. Now, accordingly, during the during the Cambridge Analytica scandal, the issue that happened with Facebook, they had upwards of 50 to 70 points of reference on some of the social profiles. So this is a very scaled down version of it, where I think they only have 8 points of reference. Facebook even said that it's old data, previously reported on in 2019. And they found and they fixed the issue in 2019. There's not really much that they can do about it. The data is it's been exposed. It's already there and it's floating around. Yeah, in the article basically covers that. It's not very big. It's not much of an article. Once the data's gone, it's I'll see you later, Angry Amiibo. Sorry about your ears. But once the data's gone, it's gone. And once it's in the public space, it's in the public space. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Was this an internal leak or scraping? Facebook was, so the origination back in 2019, it was an API tool that was supposed to be utilized for ad related to ad information. So it was related to, and the problem was not necessarily that, because you get data that's pulled from ads all the time. It was more so the amount. It was talking about, like, I want to say the Cambridge Analytica report stated somewhere in the neighborhood of over 70 points of reference, which, when you're talking ad spacing, you can really start to understand the personality groupings. Base that, if you really think about a social engineering attack, as well as intelligence, in the military, we used to call them PSYOPs, so psychological operations. If you have that much knowledge or profile, you can use that to target or, preferentially change the minds of individuals in some manners and ways. And that's what they found was occurring. So yeah, the internal leak or scraping, it was technically neither. It was a collection through appropriate means. All right. And like I said, it was just reported on in 2019, fixed in 2019, late 2019, but still fixed. Not much to it. Moving forward. Another 500 million accounts have leaked online, and LinkedIn's in the hot seat. This is slightly new. It's a combination of new and old data. So this data is being sold, according to Cyber News on the dark web, and it was scraped from 500 million LinkedIn profiles, as well as combined with previously exposed data from the LinkedIn breach. It includes a sample of 2 million profiles, showed LinkedIn members' full names, email addresses, phone numbers, genders, and more data points were visible. LinkedIn, however, says the data includes information from many places and wasn't all scraped from the professional focused social network. If you're not familiar with scraping, it means that someone can visit the profile in a public manner. They can theoretically collect any data that's stored there. If you automate this, then you're capable of gathering data points across everyone that's already public information. It's one thing for the public information to be there. It's another to be able to A, collect it, and B, do so in a manner that it becomes beneficial to where you can monetize it. In this case, it looks like they were able to monetize a huge sect of it. What do I mean by that? So a really good example, I don't know if you guys have ever seen Gold Rush on the Discovery Channel. And what they do is they take large swaths of land in dirt buckets up in the Alaskas or down in the Brazilian forest, and they take all these massive amounts of dirt and they just run it through multiple layers of well, first they crush the bigger stuff, but basically they break it up to where it's smaller bits, and then they run it through multiple layers of filters, basically getting smaller and smaller and more granular and more granular. And they are checking at each layer of filtering, they're checking to see what they get. And at the very last bit of filtering, they're running a mud slushy down a ramp that's basically just a bunch of rubber and grass collection mats. And literally, these professional diggers, they'll take these big, they look like AstroTurf, into a washroom, and they'll wash out, and then they will use chemicals to actually separate out gold from this mountainous pile of dirt, rock, and rubble that, you know, they pay for. And it doesn't seem like much, but these tiny flakes of gold, when you do that, you know, 10 tons, 20 tons at a time, you can get several ounces of gold. And then that payback is actually, there's a profit to be made there, a large profit. It's the same way with these data busts. You know, 500 million accounts for LinkedIn doesn't seem like a lot, but it depends on how much that they've scraped together and made it worthwhile. So just because there's not passwords, it's not always about the passwords. Just something to keep in mind. Oh, I see you, Hash. She's got huge tracts of land. That's nice. Okay. With that, we talked about the risk there for LinkedIn. It's very similar to Facebook. This is new, though. It's somewhat of a breaking story. It does have multiple points of reference. I could see more targeted. I'm not sure how much they're trying to sell it for, but I could see more targeted spam campaigns or things like that happening from it. Riles per hour MSF. So blue teams, I assume, are usually an internal team proactively building, fixing vulns. No, actually, vulnerability management is generally handled by a completely different team. Usually that's more compliance-based requirements. Blue teams are more specifically around the security operations side of things, of not just fixing vulnerabilities per se, but really any form of cyber incident that requires immediate attention. So it can be all over the map. It can be anything from, you know, cloud access, like data buckets in the cloud that are public facing. It can be malware lands and looks like it was a little successful on the endpoint. It can be malware was deleted from an endpoint through an automated process, which you would think, well, why does that matter? Well, if that malware came from things like, let's say, an extension, or it came from, I don't know, a Zoom meeting or something like that, you have to do a root cause and figure out what what the response should be, because you don't really want an extension that's serving up malware to be still connected to that system, computer system. Yeah. I see your questions. Also, I want to throw in these links in the chat real quick. We're about to pivot into our continuing discussion on red team tactics. All right. I know the news was only 15 minutes today with the intro. Hardly anything. I am so sorry, but at the same time, I actually want to get into some of the hands-on stuff that we were talking about previously. As I said, I'm going to work on doing both a news review, an AMA, as well as teach you guys precursors for threat hunting so you can better understand the processes, other things that you can research, and resources that you can go take a look at to mess around with on your journey as well. Okay. So blue team responds to DDoS, Uber King Kong. Yes, blue team. Well, so DDoS is, with the exception of resource exhaustion, because of cloud formation, DDoS is not really that much of a thing. It can occur. You can get amplification attacks, but realistically, if you're running appropriately through either Cloudflare or another service provider to provide the front end protection, it's not really much you have to worry about as far as a blue team individual goes, unless you're sitting on that particular, right? So every company has a very specific service that's necessary, right? That they provide. If you are part of the company that's like for example, Cloudflare is one of them. But if you are part of a company that provides digital services for web pages, then yes, you would be the one that's responding to attempted DDoS. Usually, though, nowadays, the attacks are so well known that there's automation in place to help prevent things like resource exhaustion from occurring, or any types of ping attacks or eardrop, just all sorts, all that type of stuff. DDoS, I'm not going to say DDoS doesn't exist. It does exist. It's usually, so for example, how long ago was it? 2 years ago, I want to say, the whitehouse.gov for the US they were part of a DDoS attack, but basic architecture ensured that regionally there was one website like hosting regionally. So in response, it ended up going down in like the Ukraine and I want to say Germany, and that's it, Deutschland, and that was it. It really, it didn't at all hit the US. Yeah, it was minimum. It was only towards parts of non-US, and which not many people were looking at it anyway. Morrison and NM, how do we fix the abundance of information provided to organizations, especially to gain employment or other opportunities? There's not much you can do. If it seems to be a lot, you can request not to, collect so much information. A lot of it, though, is regulatory. If you're talking about LinkedIn, you can treat it like a brand. Be selective about the information that you put up there. And make sure that the information is also relevant to the work that you did. It's a lot more about you telling others about yourself, and how you best handle that is actually it's really on you. So I see the stretch. Oh. Okay. What search should someone aim to get covered before leaving the military? Typical Seminole. I mean, it depends on how long you've been doing the job. what your current IT level is at or your information security level is at. If you are a 17XX, if you're in the Marines or you're in the electronics field at all, odds are you probably already have Sec Plus. It really just depends. I would say bare minimum if you're in the DoD, because I know that the DoD and 8570 covers Sec Plus training, do Sec Plus. Because it's so prevalent in the military. That I know that there's going to be courses and opportunities available for you to take that. It's also the most cost effective. If you're if you're worried about cost effectiveness, then I would say take a look at INE. I would say take a look at Blue Team University. Or wait, is it Blue Team University? It's Security Blue Team, sorry. And their training courses are also on point. Join us in the Discord and we can talk more about it and throw out the pros and cons and recommendations. Realistically, the thing you should aim for is the thing that really makes you excited, because you're going to get through it a lot quicker. Uber King Kong, Blue Team respond to SQL injection attacks, or would DBA respond to those? So Blue Team would respond to SQL injection attacks. However, it would also be the DBA in the manner of, so usually Blue Team will analyze and then they will coordinate remediation efforts with the responsible party. You're talking about a global entity. That means that, and you're not going to know everything, and you're not going to be a database admin. You know what I mean? You'll be able to recognize the auspices of an attack, and then you'll be able to, say, hey, within this 40-minute window, can you give me the database logins? Who logged in? Where did they log in from? X, Y, and Z, and take a look as well, because it looks like they may have been, they may have gotten in and they would have been running under this particular user account or privilege, depending on the command, probably system. Did you see what commands were issued by system under this path? Would have been issued from here, So yeah, you would be a combination effort between the two, and you'd be making sure that everything together was covered down and that it was corrected and fixed. Hashes. Oh hey, can we do the IPv6 man in the middle that every pen test team uses now? I don't do red team stuff. I can shoot the request over to our to hackers if you want. So they might be able to do some hands-on stuff, because we've got the hacker maker who operates on, I believe it is Tuesdays. I'm going to double check because I am forgetful. Yes, so we have Philip Wiley, the hacker maker, for offensive cyber on Tuesdays, and then we also have Neil, who's running Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. So we will. Hey, Fraser, can you leave that one unchecked, and we'll put it into the content suggestions for them, okay? Cyber Colombiano, what are some of the biggest mistakes new pen testers make when hired on for the first time in the role? In my experience, again, not worked on the red team, but close enough with them, the number one mistake that I was constantly warned about, as well as we saw from the purple team aspect, was accidentally hitting commands that weren't ready. What I mean by that is they would accidentally be noisy, and it would get them caught. So in some instances, whenever you're doing pen testing or red team, you'll have two-person what is it called? Two-person integrity to the commands that you submit for boxes that are already compromised. And the reason is because you want it to go low and slow, so it doesn't set off behavior type alarms. You also want somebody else to do a gut check on you just to make sure that you are, sending the correct command and you know exactly what's going to happen on that box when you send that command. Because if you get an error, you can accidentally set off an alarm or trip an alarm, which would call it, get IRT or blue team involved, and you might burn your bridge. So stuff I've seen is just people not knowing the flags appropriately, people accidentally locking themselves out through adjusting the firewall, as well as basically just burning the connection. I think that's the most difficult thing is once you burn the connection, it's very easy to do, and it can be very hard to reestablish, if not impossible, if you get detected and it gets analyzed and new protections are put in place. I'm not sure. All right, Dev Zen, is SBT really worth 500 pounds for just the first level cert? Let me see what SBT is. I'm not familiar with that one. I don't recognize this at all. Oh, Security Blue Team. Okay. I know Security Blue Team. I don't know why I wasn't putting that together. I apologize. I cannot. I've heard good things about them. I cannot say off the top of my head that how great or excellent their coursework is. It was one that came up that I was looking at earlier, and it seemed all right, but I didn't realize that the 500 pounds part of that. I'll evaluate that one more. INE though, that's only 50 a month, so we have that. Did I say AKO Cyber Colombiana? Thanks. What's AKO? Total noob here. I don't think I said that. I'll get back to AKO. I'm not quite sure if I did say that, or what that was in SBL. Sipping Bud Light. I like that. Also a little magic. All right. Well, let's pivot. Cyber Colombiana. I'll come back to that when I remember what AKO is or what I said about AKO. I really can't. For the life of me, remember that. One more time, I'm going to throw these links up in the chat. Okay. And then let me adjust. All right. So one of the things that I first put up, one of the links I first put up is Redline. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Redline, more so the company behind it, FireEye, sounds familiar. They originally known as Mandiant, they've been rebranded as FireEye. And then I know I talk about him frequently, but Richard Betchlick was their operations officer. Extremely good company. They have multiple products. HX is one of them. They also do NX, which is, so HX is for host investigations, NX is for network investigations, email, I'm guessing you probably can guess the product, EX. So there's multiple products. They offer a spectrum of them. I personally, to be clear about my bias, I am an admin. I'm rated as an admin on their stuff. Went through their courses. They were a DoD vendor when I was in the DoD. Their direct competitors would include things like Carbon Black, CrowdStrike, as well as many others. Defender is starting to get there. Microsoft Defender starting to get there, as well as Sentinel-1. AKO Army Knowledge Online, Cyber Colombiana. Yes, okay. Yeah, I was a Marine. That's why it didn't immediately stand out to me. Um, we don't have an online knowledge repository. Just Crayola. Anyway, um, so with that, Redline, what is Redline? Redline is a um, per instance collection script that you guys can use right now. Okay. It is an excellent tool. I will show you how to make a collection script real quickly. And then getting it to run is something else. I can go over it on a different day. But once you have the tool installed, first off, what is it that this tool does? Okay, it acts as an EDR, just not a so an EDR, an endpoint detection and response tool, is when you're talking about in an enterprise network, it is a centralized management platform of all the agents. It can also be agentless, but you have to get better permission sets. And usually you have to be on the VPN or within a an internal environment. You know what I mean? You can't just like reach out and touch everything that has the same permissions if somebody's working from home. But I'm forgetting the name of the company that used to have them. They were very proud of their agentless response stuff. I'll think of it later. So this is Redline. Really simplified process. And what you do is come up here and you can either create a standard collector or you can create a comprehensive collector. Okay. You can also create what's called an IOC search collector. All three of those. All right. Standard collector is just kind of like a short burst. It will take nothing to set up. It'll give you the last 24 hours of activity, maybe. It depends on what you configure to be in it. So for example, in this, you could select, I want a Windows, or I want an OS X, or I want a Linux collection package. And these are the scripts that you are actually telling it to run for you. On my behalf, I want you to package this all together and create me a collection script that pulls this information. Process listing, driver enumeration, hook detection. You can also acquire memory, a memory image. We can go into memory forensics much later on during threat hunting. In fact, it's not slated on the calendar yet. I can go into it. The problem that you run into with memory collection is that you must have more memory than the target file is that you're analyzing. So for example, if you did a memory collection and you have 8 gigs to 12 gigs of memory that was collected on during the time period or time frame, your system must have an available 12 gigs of memory to fully load up the memory module, at least the way the software works currently. So it can become difficult. I personally run with 32 on my system. It's actually a very good reason as an analyst to have a lot of memory, because when you're talking about memory analytics, you have to open up the entire file, which is the entire active page file of the memory. Disk, so you can do file enumeration, you can get all the hash versions, system information, what type of user accounts, network, tables, other. You can select any of this. You can also show advanced parameters. This will go even further. This tool is so powerful, but with this, you can tell them to look for certain regex files. You can also, what you can do instead, let me close all this out and go back to this. Create an IOC search collector. What you want to do is you want to create a single folder location, dump in the indicators of compromise, as we previously talked about, domains, hash files. There's all sorts of stuff. There's actually a whole separate tool for creating indicators of compromise, which I can go over later when it comes to the Redline stuff. But the point is that you can take, and what it will do is it will only gather the information necessary to look for the indicators of compromise. So instead of pulling the entirety of the registry down, it'll only pull the registry keys that you specifically state to see if there's an indicator of compromise that matches yours in there, or maybe the file path, or maybe, you know, and we can keep going on and on. So it's a much lighter, faster type of collection script. Now, part of the service level agreement for using this is that this is for what I'm showing you is for evaluation. So you can use it on your home networks or any test networks that you do. You just can't make it part of an enterprise, blue team tool set. That's that would be breaking SLA, and if they find you, they will sue you. I'm guessing because it's intellectual property infringement. All right, so with that, and it'll have to be, I have a comprehensive one going right now that's collecting on my system, so I can show you all the breakout, but it does take a little bit of time. So I will be showing it to you on next week. However, for this week and this purpose, this is the tool set. This is how you get. This is one method of doing it on your system. It's very point and click, and it is really easy. As for what we're talking about tonight, I'm going to go touch on the Windows log types and what they are, what type of information you'll find from them. I shared this. This is a DFIR from SANS poster. Now, I'm not going to teach SANS. They have their own content. I'm not going to steal their thunder. I'm not going to steal their content. It is a very good reference, though. Like I said, I don't have an issue with SANS as far as their content. I think it's very good. However, you can also AndreaFortuna.org. I shared some of those links out. I shared out the FireEye, also Celebrite. You can take these Windows log types and research more about them to really learn what type of behaviors will represent in what type of logs. And that's why I also wanted to share with you the SANS poster, because the SANS poster actually breaks it down really well. If you want to look for example, I know network connections are on that poster. And it tells you where to look as far as the Windows logging goes. Devnol Zen, is purple team different from just people that do red and blue team aspects? Not really. You're not very far off. Purple team is more of, like I said, it's not unheard of that there is a full-on purple team or that a team that acts as purple in between. But realistically, it is just red and blue coming together and then somebody managing that aspect of the operation. You'll see purple in a very large group, but it's a lot of signature development. That's purple team is primarily signature development as well as attack modification. So where you catch red team, you tell them, and then they will modify their attacks to avoid being caught or to dissuade you from. So, for example, we knew that there was an executable that was being passed around that was malicious. But the red team, what they did was they would delete, they would self-execute and then clean up when they moved into memory. And then that's how they were working with file lists. So we never got to actually collect the executable and evaluate its purpose or what it can do as far as malware analysis goes. So we were missing a big chunk of the behavioral patterns that we could have looked for to see how many boxes very quickly they were on. With that, let's start off with the easy stuff, okay? First off, we have the event logs. If you've been an IT individual, you might recognize these. Let me throw something that's going to be cool junk on the oh, come on. All right. 1 second. I'm getting magnifier up for you guys because I know. Whoa. No. Oh no. I screwed it all up. This is so bad. This should not have happened at all. Oh my God. That was horrible. That was not the magnifying tool I meant to grab, guys. What was that junk? That was awful. Oh, I was just trying to get the simple little magnifying bar, but it straight up is not having a good time. Okay, we're gonna try it this way. Can I do this? There we go. Oh, damn. Okay, this is not working at all. I will get that. I'm sorry. I'm used to the Windows 7 form of magnifier where it just gives you a nice little simple bar across the top and then you could read straight off of there. This is insane and I am not using that. I'm sorry. If you're curious of what I'm looking at, take a look at type in the search bar event viewer. I'm switching because it's worthless at this point. I apologize. I don't know what happened there. It's okay though. So the event viewer in this is per event you actually have some form of a code. So you'll have the event ID, you'll have the actual log name itself. You have multiple different types. You can do security, the hardware. You can do even on mine, PowerShell logging's turned on. So anytime that the PowerShell engages and commands are put in, I get logs. Using Windows Event Forwarding, you can centralize this information within the enterprise, which is really beneficial for PowerShell, but it's beneficial across all of it. Now, it's a detailed record of the system and any type of security or application notifications. It's automatically stored by the Windows operating system. You can use it for IT, you can use it for security, you can use it for all types of stuff. It can be a bit much. All right, you have to learn a lot about what the event IDs are, how they work together. Sometimes you'll get event IDs that pop off in collaboration with each other, so you always see like 2 or 3 IDs together at the same time. And then the real key of the IDs is whether or not the description has a specific, was this remote, was it local, was it did it involve a different user account? Was there a privilege escalation that occurred? That would be sitting all in the event logs. All right, let's keep moving down. I know a lot of you had some of this on A+, but for those don't, this is just a nice little where we're going back to the basics to make sure that we hit all the things that I need to talk about so we can do threat hunting. Okay, registry. This one's really simple. The registry is a hierarchical database, stores low-level settings for Microsoft Windows. Any applications that may also use it, they can opt in to use the registry to store settings and configurations. That also includes the kernels, the device drivers, services, account managers. Really, once you get really good at reading the registry, that's a big form of persistence. They can actually, I've seen full-on scripts stored in registry keys before. Not callouts like the scripts. That was the persistence mechanism, was they went and they would repeatedly write and read keys over and over again, and then they would run the task, and the task was to combine all these key values and then run via memory. Like, you get used to it though. It breaks out, it breaks down into this. Here we go. This one I can share a little better. I know, California, I'm bringing the A+. I know I'm bringing that A+. I know, but some of our individuals don't necessarily have it. Anyway, with the registry keys, what we're going to be talking about more so is things like user assist, with a file system, the points of recent apps key, shim cache, jump list, arm cache, or aim cache, These are areas where, as you operate in and out of the system as a user, there will be updated points of reference. So, for example, on your most frequently visited file folders under your Windows Explorer tab, that's actually a point of reference for pulled from your registry keys. The reason why I mention that is that that's another form of persistence. Whenever you click one of those folder drives, you can technically throw in a call out. I know that because I found it before. Yeah, it's, and as well as if you evaluate that, you can see what has been previously visited by the user and see what their activity was. That's just one example. There's many others. Look at Sec IT guy in here being all trash. We know what the file system is. You can find stuff like browser history in the file system. Realistically, when we're talking about the file system, we're talking more so about stuff that is actually written to the disk, which doesn't even exist anymore. Wow, I'm showing my age. But third-party log sourcing. Okay, so for example, Chrome can write log files down about what's occurring. There's a history that's being written, things like that. So it's talking about the file system whenever those logs are stored locally, as opposed to either in the registry or any of the operating system event logs or things like that. Okay, user assist. One sec. So user assist, the utility decrypts and displays a list of the user assist entities stored under HKey current user software, Microsoft Windows current version, Explorer user assist keys. Now it will tell you about what has been recently opened, things like, or that you frequently open. So text files, HTML files, XML, those types of stuff in and out, as well as if you were to engage with it, you can also delete unwanted items. Now they are broken down into GID subkeys, as well as the values are ROT13 encoded. If you're not familiar with ROT13, it's a shift cipher based on literally 13 characters left to right. So for example, .exes would be .rkrs. Link files, .lnks would be .yax. This is the type of stuff that's in the user assist. Now, the programs like I was showing you before, the Redline program, will automatically, they can grab this information, auto-translate it for you, so you're not having to do that. You know, some of the automation is taken care of for you. But theoretically, you can do a full analysis via command line. I've been part of areas that was what was done. We used just, you know, bash shell or command line or PowerShell. Okay, so newer, we've got some newer stuff now. If you're not familiar, it's called BAM or DAM, which is the background activity monitor and the desktop activity monitor. Now, the BAM, that controls the background applications, which would include things like update process, network connection, ports that are listening, things like that. DAM, however, monitors the desktop processes, but it was used to create a consistent longer battery life for device support where you have connection standbys, like the screen's off, but the device is still technically on. While that sounds like just a laptop thing, it's now become standardized in Windows 10, so it's also on desktops. You can find the BAM entries on all Windows devices. DAM will only contain data on tablets and mobile devices. Sorry, I screwed that up. BAM will be operational on Windows. DAM is only on the tablets and mobile devices. There we go. However, they're both located in the registry. You're looking for a folder user SID by the SID. If you're not familiar with username SIDs, I would suggest you take a look at it. The Windows backend to codify usernames, basically. And you should be able to find in the BAM or DAM the path of executable files, last execution date and time, the information stored in the registry, and each entry will definitely talk about, you know, what applications were run by what specific user at what time. Recent apps is another registry key value. App ID, last access time, and launch count. Very similar to what you might find in Shimcache or Prefetch. You're not familiar with Shimcache, Windows Application Compatibility Database. It's used to identify possible application compatibility challenges, and it tracks the executable's file name, file size, last modified time. It will show the last 10,024, I'm sorry, not 10, 1,024 programs that execute on the Windows system. Jump list. They record presets and recent documents along with executables. Things that you clicked on a bunch, you know, so similarly, whenever you, let's say, go into Microsoft Office, okay, you open up Word and you go to open, that open value list that's right there, that's anything that's a Word document that's previously been open, that's the type of jump list, right? And that is stored as a registry key. And you can go chase that down as well. Oh, so we just had a raid from Nick Wan Datasci with 13. Hey, thank you so much, Nick Wan. I appreciate that. Hope it all went well tonight. I see you pop up here and there. I stop in myself. I'm a fan, so hope it all went well. All right, what else can I hit? Oh, Prefetch. Okay, if you're not familiar with Prefetch, let's hit this one because to this day, it's still one of the most valuable items. Whenever you run an application in your system, Prefetch file contains information about the files that are loaded in the backend by the applications created by the Windows operating system. Now, why is this important? It points to all the DLLs. It points to the areas that it's basically meant to optimize the load time of executables and files that are running. So if you play a game, the executable for that game is going to be in Prefetch. It's going to have some pointers and index records that will allow the computer to operate quicker the next time whenever you start it back up. Now Prefetch is awesome though because it does show what was clicked last, and it is that it's very, very good to see if an executable was ran. You're not a fan of Prefetch, Grizzly Bear. I get that. I do get that, but and it's not that I'm so much a fan per se, but it is a very clear indication of an executable has been ran. ARM Cache Hive is a registry file, stores the information of executed applications. Yeah, and it's in the system root app compact programs ARM Cache. You know, it's there. I'm not really going to walk you through that. I'm just making sure that you guys understand that these things are available to you to reference. Now, do you only have to use the Windows OS logs? No, not at all. In fact, I would highly encourage that you don't just use those. When you combine them with things like, as I said, browser information, browser activity, browser logging, if you have an EDR solution that's monitoring actively, you should be able to see network connections or some form of tracking in that. AV logs are a huge help if it's anything but McAfee. You know, there's a lot of different ways. The point being is knowing that the basics of the operating system, knowing where the information is about the activities, will be highly beneficial. A, for blue team to find out what happened, and B, for red team, because you guys know where you're being monitored at. One thing to note is that things like the event logs, when those are cleared, they clear everything. It's no longer possible to just. It used to be possible to selectively edit out your file path one line at a time. So you could go back and edit the event log and just remove the events that were related to you. Since then, Windows has updated it. Microsoft has updated it to be you delete one, you delete them all. Do people backup event event logs, Uber, King Kong? Yes. EDR platforms frequently will do spot checks of or dumps of the event logs. They'll be held for like 30 days or something like that, and then they'll kick off. Usually it's some form of a scheduled task though. So not it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be caught. Thing is though, is if you delete the event logs, it's very clear indication that something happened there. The event logs can only be deleted by like it can't just be a regular. For example, if you landed on notepad.exe as the process, right, and we see that the notepad.exe deleted all the event logs, it's clear as day that something was there. You know what I mean? Have no Zen XDR, seriously? Okay. Moving forward. Uber King Kong is red team counter hack. If someone just rogue hacks you, they wouldn't be any team, right? Black hat, I think is what they're called. Yeah, so counter hacking was something that was brought up by what's his face? I know I've got his book somewhere. John Strand. There it is. I'm looking at the book back behind me. It's literally called Offensive Countermeasures, the name of the book. But John Strand, if you're not familiar with him, last I heard he was working out of Black Hill Security. And an argument has been made multiple times that it should be okay to counter hack or back attack. We've brought it up multiple times on our talks about if that happens, you become part of the problem. If that happens, you can actually, without meaning to, get in the way of, police activity. And at the end of the day, really, theoretically, even if you are being attacked, backhacking is a form of attack in and of itself. Also, for all you know, they could be just a small part of a replay, a jump off point. They might have been attacked themselves, and then it just looks like you're beating up on the kid in the playground. Yeah, it's yeah, so I personally, I don't recommend counter hacking or back hacking. And you're right. If I'm not going to say that rogue hacks are black hats. That's not so. Black hat, gray hat, white hat talks about the type of authorization that you have in that. Technically, yes, you're right. They are a black hat, but because of if they're doing it for the purpose of research or intelligence collection, right? It could be gray hat, especially if they were attacked first. Like you get into a real legal argument back and forth, and it's a little, I don't know. It's we could do an entire stream on just arguing at each other. Oh, hex it. Unless the logs are checksum, you should be able to change the text with a hex edit and leave them in place just to edit the IP. Linux, I believe so. When it comes to Windows, no, I don't think that that's possible. At least not off the top of my head. Pretty sure it's highly locked down. If you do find a way to do it, let me know. Because last training that I took on it, and I haven't seen anything updated since, you weren't able to auto adjust the logs at all. Okay. Well, we are coming up to the top of the hour. I saw the stretch. Thank you. I can't pronounce your username. I apologize. 3RZ Zeng 3. Thank you. All right. So we are 2 minutes to the top of the hour, I believe. I hope that I was value added, guys. It was an interesting night. This precursor stuff that we're working on. I think that I think that it might be some more value added, but I really want to ensure that If you have any, and I do mean any considerations where you'd like things changed, please let me know. Let's talk about it. Let's try and find to where I can be, because this stuff is so technical. It's technical. It's dry. If anything, I want to just do a flash in the pan on it, talk about it briefly. That way, when you guys see it in your training, it's something that you're like, oh, okay, I get that, you know, and it's something that we can talk about. Next week I fully intend on showing you what it looks like with Redline as a tool, hands-on, because I think it's really cool that once you set things up, you can pull all these files in an instant response manner, excuse me, and show and mess around with it and take a look at things. I'm okay with using my computer for it. It is what it is. Dev Knowles and stream longer. You know what, Dev? I think I have a funny feeling that we might be doing something on Saturday, so I'm going to save myself for that day, especially with the Wednesday night stream we did. You love that, Miss Ren? I'm glad I was able to help out. Short show. Wanted to make sure that I hit those very small news wickets and just get into the actual data. If you guys got any questions, again, I'll be hanging around in Discord. Please hit !SecIT guy, add me on, come say hi, hit !Discord, join us in the Discord chat. You can also hit ! If you were somebody with a new subscription recently, hit !career. You'll be able to take a look at the email addressing there, send your resume over, and it'll get a nice little red pin review and some commentary as to what they would or would not be changing. That would be from Neil. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. We're coming to the end of the night. I want to thank my mods for their ongoing work, and I want to thank you guys, you chat. I want to thank you for coming to hang out. I really, as I've continuously annoyingly said at this point, that I'm value added. That's all I'm really working to do with this volunteer work. So come hit !Discord, drop some suggestions for how I can be of better and more use to you. So here, guys, here's a cheers to you. Okay, I love to sing and I love to drink, but most people just like to hear me drink. From George Burns. Cheers all. Have a good night. Hey, thanks for watching. I want to thank Neil and the Cyber Insecurity channel for providing a place to have real conversations with real people. Feel free to throw a like or to follow me on the socials in the description. Please remember to click subscribe, hit that notification bell, and if you want to see other videos, click that stuff that's all over the screen. See you next time.